I was certain it was me. And so when I'm sitting in there and I'm just like, okay, I'm trying to be respectful of this guy's decision. I'm not going to beg anybody to be with me. Like, if you can't even see me, that crossed my mind. I was like, wait till you do. And then, I just thought like, if my personality, if everything I'm saying to you isn't enough, then okay.
Yeah.
But I think you're wrong.
Today's guest is someone you might recognize from season 6 of Love is Blind. Sarah Ann quickly became one of the most talked about cast members of the season, not just for her connection with Jeramey, but for everything that unfolded during and after the show. Over the past year, she's been focusing on rebuilding her life, her confidence, and sharing a more authentic version of herself online. I'm excited for you to get to know the real Sarah Ann beyond the headlines. Okay, well, Sarah Ann, thank you so much for coming on here today. I really appreciate you coming out here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And I know you said you haven't done a podcast in a while, so how do you feel about this?
It's exciting. I'm just happy to be able to have, an opportunity to speak on everything again. I think with time and growth, it's exciting when you get to go back and rehash things with someone and just kind of revisit like who you're becoming as a person, because I think it's important. The internet only sees, so much of reality TV. So yeah, it's just exciting to be able to be here. So,
well, let's jump into it. So for those of you listening that don't know, Sarah Ann was on season 6 of Love is Blind,
yes.
Filmed here in Charlotte. I watched the whole thing, but I want to go back. So when it comes to casting, did you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, actually, they ended up reaching out to me on Instagram. I think my Instagram just said single for some reason. Like, I think I was just enjoying my life in Charlotte and, posting consistently about what I was doing. And so I got a DM from a producer. And at first I was like, this is a scam, And
Right.
I think even wrote back and did the whole, like, you're lying to me, like, please leave me alone. And they were like, no, this is real. And I was like, okay, I did hear about them filming somewhere in the Carolinas, and I was like, let me just explore this a little bit. And then, like, 2 days later, they set me up with a face-to-face interview on Zoom, and the rest is history. I kind of went through a series of, like, I would say 8 months of interviews.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But yeah, they actually reached out to me. So
where were you when they reached out to you in your dating life?
Well, at the time I was 28, I'm 32 now, and I was casually dating. I think I was really in a part of my life where I was like, okay, I'm ready to settle down. I want to meet someone. But now looking back on that, I was ready for that if it had presented itself, but I don't think I was super serious about it or like I should have been to be able to get married or to start a family. So looking back, I don't think I was quite in the place. But
it's exciting, right? Like, you get to be on this show, like, you've probably seen it, and like you've seen people actually get married, and now some of them have babies. So like, that it does work for some people.
Absolutely. I was kind of in a place too where I was like, this would just happen to me. This would be how I meet my husband. I'm like, moral of the story, like, I wanted to do it, and I try to take every opportunity that comes my way. So that's kind of, I was like, oh, why not?
So after 8 months, they choose how many men and women?
Oh gosh, it's been so long. I want to say it's like 12 on each side, maybe more. 12?
Okay.
12
That's
or 15,
what it
something like that.
like when they're in there. And now, when you're doing that, because this is just like personal questions.
Yeah.
How long is the actual process when you're in the pods?
It's 3 weeks, but I will say that the way that the dating goes is the very first day you walk into each pod for, I think it's maybe 7 minutes they give you.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah, and they give you a notebook, and then you kind of like, based off those conversations with every single person, you write down like who would be your number 1, your number 2, and like...
Wait, after 7 minutes? That's not long at all. I feel like by the time you introduce yourself and say like, like, what do you do?
You're like pulling things out of a hat.
Right.
Yeah,
Did you come prepared with like a list of questions?
I didn't, because I wasn't, before you're out in LA and before filming, you really don't have any idea what to expect. When you get to set, it's a completely different, like, I can't even explain how it is. It feels like you're on a game show because you go in and they have the way that it's going to be. And so like, they don't tell you prior to like, oh, you're going to get 7 minutes to date everybody. So yeah, it was very new, and
That makes me feel like you might miss somebody.
I agree.
If they're like you're 10, 11, 12, and so they bump them out. And you're
100%.
like, but what if everybody was just nervous?
Yeah, I think there were people that did not end up on my list that I look back and I'm like, oh, I wish he had been on my list a little bit like higher up. So.
I really feel like that first initial one, I mean, I know it'd be mentally grueling, but I feel like it needs to be like an hour, you know? So
I
then
agree.
you could really,
yeah.
And then you could be like, okay, you know, 9 through 12 are out. Like, I know that, but.
Yeah, I think there were some that I could like right off the bat tell that this is not going to be a match. But there were a few that I remember trying to go through all of the, because they give you a prompt, like a list of things you can ask. But like for me, I'm wanting to know like your morals and your values. Like, should we even be going further of getting to know each other?
Right. Because if there's like a massive red flag, you're like next. Like if there's something like a make or break, you're like, okay, I'm not even going to waste my time.
Absolutely.
So I agree with that. Like I don't want to ask fluff questions.
Yeah. And it is very like, it's so fast that first day. And then from there, so after that first day and you list people, they actually take the last part of your list. Like, I think it's like the last like 5 people and just, you don't date them again. Like you're
never
like,
see them. You never date them again. I might want to go back to number 8.
Yeah, you're like, excuse me, should I have kept this person? And you can't do that. Like that's not something. So it is similar. It is kind of like a game show.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody asks, they're like, well, is it scripted? And I'm like, it's not scripted, but it is. There's heavy editing.
It's structured.
Yeah, it's structured.
Very structured by what they probably need to capture.
Yes.
Okay. So also my other question is, where are you guys, like, do they say, okay, you have to be here from like 7 a.m. till 7 p.m.? Because like there's that lounge.
Yeah. That is one of the hardest parts, I think. So for that, entire time that you're there, you're staying somewhere and they're taking you to set every
Is it like a hotel
day.
you're staying at? Or
Yeah. So, and then they take you to set every day and it's probably, you have to be ready by like 7 a.m. So you get up and naturally as a female, like, and a woman, I'm like, okay, I want to do my hair. I want to do everything.
I'm on TV. I want to look hot.
Yeah.
Like, obviously.
So you get up and then
Did you get your own room?
Yes, you have to have your own room because you're in a space where, you can't communicate about what's going on.
That's what I was like. I didn't know. I was like, ooh, that'd be really awkward if they put 2 like women in one room that are like, same guy. Okay.
Yeah, they leave the bullying and all that stuff to happen on camera. Yeah.
Cannot miss the juicy stuff.
Yeah, the clicks are all determined in the lounge that they have on set. So.
Okay. Well, that's what I was wondering. So you're there. So you're up at like probably 4:35 a.m.
Yes, I think I got up actually at 4:45 every day. Wow. And then you're there on set. I think the dating actually ends around 9 o'clock, and then you have the option to stay and date later, which they don't force you to do that because obviously they can't and you need sleep, but they have this way of saying, well, if you stay later, you have a better opportunity of getting to know the person, and so naturally everybody kind of stays until like 3 o'clock in the morning.
So you're filming like 20-hour days.
Yes, there's the footage that is seen on television it's nothing in comparison to the amount of hours that they're actually filming.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and it's like the running joke. We did one season of a reality show. It's called Racing Wives. And we like filmed a lunch one time for 4.5 hours. And they cut that down to 90 seconds. And I was like, really?
Like that was an hour after being there for 4? What is going on?
Yeah, I was like, 90 seconds, that's all? But they just need that like one thing to like, because they see the bigger picture, and so they're trying to like clip it together.
It actually is kind of funny whenever you've been in it. So obviously and you look back and you're like, huh, that wasn't even said at the same time that this was said. That's so weird, but I mean, it's TV.
So when are they doing the interviews too? Is that all during this time, like when somebody else is dating?
Yeah.
So you're just constantly on camera.
It's grueling. I mean, truly, it's a lot of work because you are, you don't have your phone. You're not able to communicate with people in the outside world.
Do you get your phone at night?
No.
Mm-mm. So what if you need to call like your mom?
If you have an emergency, then they'll let you have it, but the producers will stand with you. You do not have your phone, any access to the outside. They don't want influence or, opinions or for you to be saying anything about the show to anyone. Oh my
gosh. So how long were you without a phone?
3 weeks. Yeah, the full, there were days where I was bawling my eyes out off set and being like, please just let me call my mom. My mom is my best friend.
That would be me.
Yeah, and they were like, is it an emergency?
Yes.
And I'm like, in my emotional realm, yes, it is an emergency, but they're like, sorry. And I'm like, okay. So that was difficult. But, back to were they doing the interviews? Yeah, you would actually be in your outfit. for continuity purposes, they would actually swap you over to the outfit that you were wearing in your first interview and have you, talk about whatever they ask. This is wild because I explain this to everyone. You go into a room and it's pitch black. So kind of like being on a stage.
Okay.
You have the one chair, you're perfectly lit, and you cannot see anybody in the room. You're being filmed, and there's like 20 people in there.
Yep.
And your producer is asking
behind
you these
the camera.
like these very invasive questions, and you're just like, okay, I feel like God is talking to me right now. Like they're asking me about my childhood trauma, and I'm like, yeah. And then you just start crying. I think mentally you have to be pretty ready for that. They don't prep you for it.
Right, because they want you caught off guard.
Yeah. I think that's where the 8 months of interviews come in. They're like, can this person handle this?
I also think too that's why there's always liquor around.
Yeah.
Because I
agree.
Because then people are going to be more open.
Yeah.
I love the gold cups. Like I don't know why that's the signature. It must be so they don't have to deal with the pain in the butt of like covering up labels. 100%. But I love that that's like
it's great. It's funny though because if you actually are like into that or you do any type of editing, eventually you'll see little snippets of things.
Like little things.
The glass will be full and then it'll be half empty and like back and forth. And I'm like, you can tell this is chopped up. So.
I want to know, and I have so many actual questions that we planned, but as like a fan, I'm like, I'm dying to know these things. So especially when the guys buy gifts for the women, like whether it's like flowers or they do little things, who pays for that?
The individual, the person, the contestant.
Okay, so they do pay for that.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know if maybe the show gave everybody a budget of like,
Well, they don't. Okay, so there's two things actually. Let me actually back up and answer that question differently. So they want you to bring something that you would gift to someone if you did get engaged. Now, the person pays for that. If you're talking about like the engagement or the date where they're doing like sushi, I think mine was sushi or whatever, that is paid for by production. They put that in there so that you walk into it.
That's what sometimes they have these like beautiful bouquets of flowers and stuff like that. And I'm like, who's paying for that? I'm just very curious about that.
They would have to because they won't even let you leave. Like you couldn't go pick the bouquet of flowers. They would actually have to give it to you because you're not allowed to be outside of the studio.
What about the engagement rings?
That is also production. That is also something provided by them too. So
interesting, because I always wondered that.
I actually don't even know. Like, I'm like, what happens if like they get engaged and then like not? Do they have to give the ring back?
That's what I was wondering.
That's one thing I don't know. I have no idea.
And part of me wondered. I was like, are they like fake rings, like just like for
like
TV?
Filler rings?
Yeah, like CZ. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Maybe that part I don't know, just because of the fact that obviously with my situation, the person I was seeing didn't choose me. I think I would probably have more insight if he did.
I'm so nosy.
Yeah,
well,
it's okay.
I always like look at it because do you remember? Have you watched the other seasons then?
Prior to mine, I kind of got a little turned off after mine. I was a bit jaded, you know.
I'm kind of
like now I'm not, but right after I was like, I'm never watching this show again and supporting because I felt like it. I just don't feel like it was a great depiction of who I am as a person.
Yes.
And I know I signed contractual agreements for it to be dubbed and everything like that, but at the end of the day, looking back, I'm like, you guys were not nice.
Well, it's hard. And it's hard too because, with every reality show, they need that drama.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we talked about it when we were on our show. You are a character, but like we didn't realize we were a character until afterwards too.
Yep.
When we were like, oh, well, if they had just told me, I would have like owned that, or I would have known at least like what we were all looking for. So I think it's really interesting. But
it is, yeah. And you are, and they are gonna frame it the way that makes sense for their storyline.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yep.
So, okay, let's get into your story. So now listeners know how the show works and everything that goes into it.
Yep.
So talk to me about, your whole experience. So obviously there's Jeramey, and we are going to get into that. And I can't remember because I did go back and watch the reunion.
It was all me.
My husband and I watched the reunion on Sunday, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I remembered a bit of it. I remember the scene at the lake house and all that. But in the pods themselves, were you all in on him, or were you divided for a while?
Actually was divided between Jimmy. He was one of mine for a while, and then
I feel like you dodged.
So this is interesting. I'll give you some tea. I actually remember dating him early on, and I really liked him, and he was at the top of my list. And then and then like I think I went in and I was all in. I was like, I'm going to date this person until the end. And I was like, so are you seeing other people? Which obviously, but I just kind of wanted to like get some information. And he was like, yeah, I'm still exploring another option that I really like. And I don't know what got into me. I think it's just my little bit of reactive nature, especially at the time. I just like X'd him. I was so mad. I was like, what do you, like, I got my feelings hurt. Yeah. Meanwhile, I have no idea what this man looks like, you know, but he's one that I had a good connection with, but I wish I had like kept longer. So,
but maybe not, because he had a whole lot of drama in
that part.
So
that part. But no, he's a really cool person, and I've seen him out and about in Charlotte a few times, and just like me, like people are seen a certain way on television, and you know it's for the story. So he's a good guy.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. So I had a connection with him, Jeramey, obviously, and then Vince at the time, which I think Vince is married now, which is awesome.
I was gonna say, I love like when it all does actually work out and they do get married and all the stuff. Like I love seeing the babies and like the original. Oh yeah. I like Love Is Blind from the very beginning, before I feel like people now know a little bit of like what's gonna happen and it's got to be spicier. But I always feel like season 1 or 2 of these shows, kind of like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, they're like nobody knows what to expect, and I love like going back to them, because isn't it like the original Bachelorette? They've been married for a
long time,
ever.
Yeah. I think you know what, I know what's crazy. I have a theory that like when a show starts and they're not sure if it's gonna actually stick, if Netflix is actually gonna buy it, I think the quality of the relationships and finding people that will actually work out is better. Yes. As it becomes popular, they're like, oh, we see what people like, and now we know that people are going to watch this. I think it kind of gets watered down. That's just my opinion, because you have Lauren and Isaac Cameron, is that right? From the first season? Yeah. And I think that they are like a true match. Mm-hmm. They are so compatible. If you watch season 1 of Love Is Blind, even the quality of like filming and the props, it's just like kind of crunchy.
Yes. But I love that because it's very authentic. Yes. You know, where now I think people know what to expect, and it's still a great show, and I watch it. Yeah. But like people like, give me the drama. Yeah. Give me the drama. And so like they have to kind of do that, or else I think there was one season that they didn't, and all over it was like, well, that was the most boring season ever.
I think season 6 honestly was a pretty fiery season.
I mean, between Jess with the like, you're going to choke, and then the one who thought she said, wasn't it that the season 2 where she said she looked like Megan Fox?
Chelsea, she was my season. Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a whole lot that went on.
I swear, there are striking features that she has that are similar to Megan Fox.
I see
and the world like destroyed her on that, and I'm like, her eyes are gorgeous. Yes, they look just like Megan Fox.
See things like that, but I feel like people, it's just easier to be mean on the internet.
100%.
And then there was something AD. Oh. AD was on this season 2, right? Yeah. And now she just got engaged off of another show.
I think she's expecting as well. So yeah.
Okay, wait. Before we get into all that, I feel like I know these people. Let's be honest. Some of my best stories start with, so I had a drink, and spiral from there. Which is exactly why Big Rack Spirits feels like the unofficial sponsor of every unfiltered moment on this podcast. Whether it's East Coast Cooler, Trailblazing Tangerine, or Rosie's Pink Lemonade, they make flavored vodka that goes down easier than your last situationship. It's all natural, super smooth, and honestly, dangerous in the best way. No fake flavors, no mixers needed. Just pour, sip, overshare. Maybe cry, maybe text your ex, definitely regret saying it all out loud. But hey, at least it was entertaining. Oh, and they're not only out here making delicious chaos in a bottle. Big Rack gives back too. Military charities, breast cancer foundations, real impact with every pour. So if you're gonna tell on yourself, you might as well do it with a drink that's worth it. So you're in the pods, you cross off Jimmy.
Yes.
Vince is still there and Jeramey, or just...
Yeah, both of those. And then, so the way that the show works, like I said, is they start removing people as they get to the bottom of your list. Right. So the last like week and a half, you are dating those top 3 people for like 2 hours, 3 hours in a date, like in a pod. I mean,
and you guys get deep.
You get so deep, and that's when you can start using those prompts and things like that. But for me, again, I wanted the questions to be like, do you want children? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you believe in God? Like, you know, what are your your views. I think that is important. Listen, you guys have me on this show looking for a husband. Like, I need those questions answered.
1,000%.
You know what I mean?
Like, do you plan on staying in Charlotte? Are you
Yes.
close to your family? Like,
Yes.
as you said, what are your religious beliefs? Like, what are your thoughts on kids? Like, because that's a deal breaker. Like, if you want
100%.
kids and somebody's like, I absolutely never have kids, like, we're really not gonna
We're not pursuing. Yeah, we're not going to do this. Yeah.
Right. Or if somebody, you know, I think it was one of the Love is Blinds, she lived somewhere and he lived very far away and he
Yeah.
refused to move and she refused to move. And it was like, okay,
Which
that's
is like interesting. I thought they only picked people from that specific city, but I guess not.
I don't know. They were like 2.5 hours. Maybe it's more than that.
That's a good amount of time.
Right. Like,
I wouldn't even do long distance, so that's a valid question.
2.5 hours. I'm not driving that all the time.
Right.
No.
Every weekend?
But they
No.
both like dug in their heels and they're like, we're not moving. So I see where you went to that. So
Yeah.
okay, in the pods, you had that chance to get really deep. Was there anything from the pods that like really stuck out to you of like, this experiment does work because I wouldn't have asked this or I wouldn't have felt comfortable to like be this vulnerable?
Yeah, I think I did love being on Love is Blind, and it wasn't just the show aspect of it. I mean, that was cool, right? Like, anybody that tells you otherwise is a liar. Like, people want to be on TV like that. But I do think that there was a big part of it at a certain point where I was like, I love this so much because I'm not judging someone based on what they look like, solely what they look like, and someone's not judging me for that. And I think I went into one of my interviews and I spoke on that, you know, like, dating for me, everybody's like, oh, you know, like, it's probably great for you. And I'm like, it's not though, because I think sometimes people, you know, automatically assume things. Like, if you know, so I
could see that.
I think for me, it was a really good opportunity for someone to get to know me and for me to get to know them without all of the outside noise. So that it was very real at one point. I do remember saying like, oh wow, like, I can actually try to get to know this person without like being nervous. And like, you know, sitting at a dinner date is sometimes like, you're like, am I even being myself? Because I'm so worried about what I'm doing and
how I'm eating and what this looks like. And
So at one point I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, I actually think it would be great if there was a way for, you know, the average, not average, the people in different cities to go out and actually try the experiment. I think it would be a good way to, kind of like speed dating, but a little different.
Because I feel like the apps, I mean, obviously you're going to click on somebody that you're attracted to.
Yep.
And that doesn't seem like, I have a friend and she's on the apps and she's like, but that never pans out to be like what you're thinking it's going to be.
No.
And then I also think too, what's interesting with the experiment, you don't get to, you know, consult your mom or your friends about it. Like, you just have to follow your own intuition with nobody else's opinion around, which is vastly different from the real world.
Yeah, that's where discernment comes in. And I've got to be honest, that's something I've been working on and just praying about, because I don't think I had very good discernment when I was doing the show. I think that the qualities and attributes that I looked for then are not quite what I'm looking for now. And, you know, I think in order for me to marry someone and, you know, find the husband that I want to be with, like, it's gotta be, you know, obviously like funny, thoughtful, attractive, but those are qualities that, like, you know, you can find in many people.
Right.
But as far as like being a leader and leading in faith and family, that is important. And I meet a lot of men that say like, oh yeah, like, I believe in God. I'm like, okay, but there is a difference in, you know, performance and pursuit. And I'm learning that. And, you know, I think that's just in my own pursuit to get to know Jesus. And I'm like learning, I'm like, okay, you're pulling this person out of my life for a reason. And maybe it's because, you know, I love anybody that's a believer. That's great. But like, can you lead, you know, in Christ? And I think that's just a big thing for me. And I felt that way before because, as you know, I was very vocal about my political views, my religious views on the show. But now I'm like, okay, we're nailing this.
No, it's very
ground.
true. I mean, that's one thing I talked to my husband about. So there's a study that was out. I mean, I can say that I saw it on social media, so maybe not.
Yeah.
But it said basically, I want to say if a husband leads the family in faith, kids are like X amount times more likely to pursue their faith as they're older versus if mom leads the household in their faith. And I thought that was so interesting.
That is interesting.
And I sent that to my husband because I am usually the one who's like, okay, guys, nighttime prayer and you know, pray before we fly, pray before meals, whatever it is. And so I told him, I was like, Brexton, our son, and Lennox, our daughter, I'm like, they need to see you take the lead because I don't know why psychologically, but there's a study out there that says like a male-led household in religious beliefs, like their kids will continue on.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And like having your side of that and both parents like do that is so important. It's such a beautiful thing. But you're right. Like I think that it's just the way that God intended it to be. And so, you know, I think whenever I see people that like I absolutely love like Jason Aldean and his wife Brittany.
Yes, I do
love
too.
Them so much.
Her best friend was just on my podcast.
Oh my gosh,
which was really
I
cool.
love that. I love that. I'm gonna have to go. I watched some of them, but I was like clicking through fast because I know we like had a fast turnaround.
Yeah.
But I just love them, and I think that they're really strong in their faith and everything, and they're just people that I look up to. I'm like, I want that. You know, I don't want. And the thing is there's so many people that they you know, settle, I guess, or they are like, oh, well, it's good enough, or I went for this, and then years later they're not working out. And
right.
I think it truly can be attributed to the fact that like God is not at the center. So
yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
So as you're in the pods and you're finding, you know, kind of what you're looking for, now it's down to 2, and then eventually it went just to Jeramey.
Yeah.
And then, so what was that like? Because I think this is really interesting. A lot of people on the show are, I mean, for lack of a better word, they're fully in love with like 2 different people at the same time.
Yeah.
And so when you're in there with him, did you have the sense that like it was going to be you or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had they set this up the way that they knew it would work for their show, but they put me in a 3-hour date with Jeramey to begin with, and we had a great date. I mean, we were like eating sushi and talking, and I remember what stood out, the difference between him and Vince at the time. And I have 4 living grandparents, like by the grace of God, like, you know, not a lot of people can say that. And so for me, I don't know yet what death looks like for me in a grieving sense. And so, you know, being 32 and thinking about, okay, my partner, like you can't put that all on someone, but to find someone supportive and to really be there for you in times where they're not sure what's going to happen, how you're going to react is so important. And he said something to me, like, you know, he expressed some things in his life that I realized would align with mine. And then he told me, he was like, you know, I know this all too well and like how to handle it. And so that, I don't know why that stuck out to me, but it was such a big thing. And I think it was like a determining factor of like, oh, this person is going to be here through it all.
That for you was like what you were looking for. So was it, there was that moment that you're like, okay, this is my person.
Yeah. I mean, there were a few things, you know, I think that kind of drew me to him, which was, you know, he was a very vivacious person. I like to think that I am as well. And so I thought our energy matched. But yeah, just kind of when we got into the nitty gritty of things, I felt like that was a huge thing. Because again, like if you're going to have a husband, you want someone that is going to be there for you, you know, and not run at the first sign of intimacy, because intimacy is really, you know, conflict sometimes and vulnerability. And I think that I honestly think that we're living in an epidemic, like a male loneliness epidemic, because there's so many avoidant men. So I was drawn to that about him, that I felt like he was very grounded and very centered. So that's kind of.
So after that 3-hour date, like you're feeling like, okay,
yeah,
this is it. And now, obviously, the question that everybody asks you, were you worried about what he looked like?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean, like,
I don't know how you wouldn't be.
Yes, I was. I remember, but I felt like I was like so attracted to him, like
emotionally.
Yes. Had it been me that had walked through the doors to meet him, I wouldn't have been deterred. I you know, obviously, you know, I dated him for a year, so I obviously found him attractive. But I think my reaction would have been priceless, just because like you're like, who are you?
You don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I just told this person that I love them and I have no idea. Your face is here now. So like, but yeah, it was a big thing. I was thinking like, oh my God, I hope he's attractive. I hope that this matches. Well,
because there was that one Love is Blind where they opened the doors and she was like,
yeah, I can't say that I wouldn't do that. I mean, I know that's kind of like rude in a sense, but I just don't think I would be able to fake that reaction very well.
The reactions are always the best.
Yeah,
and then like
the
some
best
of
part
them
of the
just
show.
like run up and start making out, and I'm like, I guess because you're so emotionally, but then at the same time, and I'm like, I don't know how I would react. I'd probably just stand there. Like, I don't know. I guess until you're in it.
I would go and like do like a full walk around.
Yeah, like,
be like,
let me check this out first.
Assess the situation. Yeah.
I always just love, like, that's one of my favorite parts. And then remember there was that one and the guy was like so clingy on her and he's trying to kiss her and she's like,
please get away from me.
She was like, I'm not feeling it. They didn't go on the vacation together. They didn't make it that far. But you know what I'm talking about. The one that like talked about money all the time.
Oh my, was it the art dealer or was it the recent one?
I think it was
Leo?
the art
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Or maybe I don't know.
No,
I'm like having trouble keeping
I'm
it
pretty
straight,
sure that was who it was. And she was just like, no. So as all that's going on, and we'll finish that up, what is it like back in the girls' lounge?
You know, I personally like have no, like, okay, so I don't know how to explain the type of person I am. I really don't have a whole lot of, I don't hate anybody. I actually like give too many people, I think, the benefit of the doubt when I meet them. And I'm a talker. So, you know, when I get excited, I like to talk about things and like, you know, we were there. I always was based in reality. I'm like, I'm here on a show. I am dating. I'm excited. And so like, I wanted to talk to everybody and be friends with everybody. And there were some people that I connected with really deeply. Chelsea being one of them at first, Brittany being one of them. But then as time progressed, I noticed that people got really, really quiet because they didn't want either to hurt someone's feelings or for people to know who they were dating. And cliques started to kind of form.
I also feel like your season had a lot of big personalities.
It did.
So I think that's one thing. Because I feel
Yep.
like some seasons you watch and it's a little more chill.
Yeah.
And then there's some seasons that, you know, there's like a handful of big personalities in the room. And so I wondered how that dynamic went. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was good at first. I felt like everybody kind of had, you know, that like similar personality. Everybody got along. And I mean, as time, like I said, as time progressed, I think people started to get kind of more like the jealousy set in and like the curiosity and things like that. And, you know, I think that is the biggest way that people start to get away from each other, I guess, or like they start kind of like, oh, I know this girl's not dating the guy I'm dating, so I'll hang out with them.
That's what I was going to say. Like, okay, she's safe to hang out with because we're not competing against each other and whatnot.
And like, I have respect for everyone on the show, regardless of how I was treated. You know, like at the end of the day, like I wish them well and, you know, I hope everybody's doing great. And that's honest, you know, but I will say that, you know, I was a little naive because I was still talking to everyone openly about my, you know, the person I was dating and things like that. And looking back, I would do it totally different.
Well, you were probably excited too.
I was so excited.
You know what I mean? Like you're on the show to find love.
Yeah.
You're finding a person you're really vibing with and you guys are stuck together all day.
Yes.
Like it just only seems natural. I mean, granted, I'm a talker too, so I would probably be the same way of like,
they're like, we got a villain. That's how it was for me. They're like, she's a talker. We can get her.
Right. Like she'll say, yeah, I know that's the hard part then too.
The more you talk, the more,
they can use it.
Right.
So talk to me. Okay. Obviously we know that Jeramey did not choose you.
Yes.
What are you feeling in that pod? Like take us back there. Because when you walk in that pod, did you think it was going to be like a...
Oh, I thought he was putting a ring on my finger.
Right.
I was like, this is it. You know, if you watch the show, I'm in almost like disbelief. Like I'm like sitting there and I'm just like, okay, well, best of luck to you. Looking back, I would have done that so differently as well.
What would you have done?
I probably would have been like, you because like, you know, I knew that he was dating, you know, the other person. And, but the things he was saying to me they were just really deep. I'm like, you don't tell someone that you're not sure about these things, like about his personal life and things about his father and telling me, oh, I can picture us in this house and this and that. And maybe they didn't show that. I don't even remember, but like, I was certain it was me. And so when I'm sitting in there and I'm just like, okay, I'm trying to be respectful of this guy's decision. I'm not going to beg anybody to be with me. Like, if you can't even see me, that crossed my mind. I was like, wait till you do. And then, you know, I just thought like, if my personality, if everything I'm saying to you isn't enough, then okay.
Yeah.
but I think you're wrong.
Right. You're like, I don't agree with this. And I think
agree with
you're going to feel a certain way afterwards, which, you know, I think, I do have to say, I think Jess's reaction to this day is the greatest.
I loved her reaction. I know that, like, her and I don't chat, but, like, I loved her reaction. I was like, I would have done that.
Yeah, that was like such a mic drop. And
Well
I was like,
deserved. Well deserved. Yeah.
Yes, because I'm sure the second he went on Instagram, he was like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure that, through podcasts and things, I think that was the reaction.
Yeah,
so.
I was like, okay, so you left there, and then do you just go back to the hotel? Do you go home? Like, how does that end?
Yeah, so at that point, because it was like, 2 days before actual engagements, you know, and you can get engaged earlier. So I thought that was going to happen. But after that, no, they kind of like whisk you out. You know, you go back to the hotel. They put you on a flight, and you're back in your natural life, and it is like
very jarring,
like a shock.
Right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's like, oh, my phone. I'm like all this stuff, and it's very overstimulating. At least it was for me. Like, I got back, and I'm like, there is no way that this man just broke up on reality television with me. Like, he broke up with me. I'm back in Charlotte. I have to go back to my normal life. Like, this is weird.
What's the first thing you did?
On vacation, you know.
Did you call your mom?
Oh,
first thing?
Yeah.
That's what I was like. That's
exactly what I cried a lot. Like,
I'm sure it was a breakup.
It was a breakup, but I was emotionally distraught. Like, just from everything, from waking up in the morning to dating till 3:00, and you know, and I felt so disconnected from my world that it was like I didn't really know which way to go, and I was hurt. You know, my heart was broken.
Wasn't say, and I just think like mentally, I almost feel like they purposely have you guys like sleep deprived and everything else because I feel like you're a little more vulnerable, right? Like, you're gonna say more stuff, you're gonna feel more. You're just like,
I think so. I think it's a military tactic.
Yes,
it's like they really break you down.
Yes. And then
we're going to get her crying. She's going to tell us everything.
And then you go literally from all of that to just, you know, being at home.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about the reunion. No, not the reunion. Sorry. Like the lake house meetup. Because we all know the whole show thing was that you DM'd him and, you know, just said how you felt, which I know you've received a ton of hate for that. And like, I see both sides where people are like, he was engaged, but I also see the side of like, but I feel like you guys had this whole relationship and then it ended and it almost felt like you were like, I need some real closure.
Yeah. I mean, and anybody can attest to this. I feel like I can only speak for myself, but I really feel that like looking at someone face to face and then being like, hey, listen, like I really liked you, but it's just I'm with someone else. I chose someone else. That would have been fine. But the DM also, the way that or how it was read was totally wrong. Like, this message did not come across like, you know, like a Jezebel. Like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, by the way, like, you're so hot, break up with her, you made the wrong choice. It was like, hey, like, it was great getting to know you. I needed that closure for myself to even just say something. Like, now we're in our real world. You're going to be back there too.
Right.
We just shared all of these things,
like very intimate things with each other.
And I'm like, if anything ever changes, you know, maybe at one point we'll re-explore, you know. And I've seen the show, so I'm like, you know, maybe he decides that this isn't his person. Maybe he decides it is. Great either way.
Right. But like, I think you just were like, hey, I need to reach out. Like, I went from being in this pod with you, these long dates, like all these feelings, to being back at home overnight.
Yeah.
And it's I think the only word that keeps coming to my head is jarring. Like, it's very like,
very jarring.
Whoa. And so then obviously, you know, we saw on the show, you guys met up and talked and all that. And then they broke up. And then. Yeah. How did they get all of you guys to that lake house?
They did arrange the transportation to get us to the lake house, but from what I heard, that Jeramey told me, because, you know, he had gone on the vacation, they originally did not want Jeramey and I to meet until the lake house. The thing is the way that it happened at Lost and Found was I was already there with some of the other people from the show. I was out and having a ball and, you know, drinking too much. And he showed up. So I was out minding my business, you know.
Right, you were like, hey, I'm here, come meet up.
Like, and I mean, when I seen him walk in, I'm just like death staring him. Like, how dare you, you know, because I'm like still hurt. I'm still shook.
1,000%.
And I did not approach him. He eventually came over to me and I'm like, this is just not the place to have this conversation, dude. But, and really that conversation could have been, I don't know, 2 days long, let's be honest. Like, there was so much to unpack. Just even about, not even just him and I, but the show. Like, when you come off of a reality TV show, you want to talk about everything that's going on.
And everyone and I'm sure that's why you guys were hanging out. Like, who's doing what, yes.
Or like, why did I say this? Or why did I react that way? Like, it's a self-protection thing. I think you're just like, I just want the opportunity to talk because I was so sequestered for so long.
Well, and even so, like when you said you're hanging out with other people from the pod, maybe number 10 who you'd crossed off your list, you're like, wait, now we're out in the real world. You obviously know that he was there because he is looking for the same things as you.
Yep.
He's ready to settle down. So I could definitely see you being like,
yeah,
okay, I want to like meet these people who didn't get engaged and like, let's see now that we can see each other.
Yeah. Vince, I think I said this at another point. Vince wrote me like a letter that he wanted production to get back to me after he left the show, saying that like he thought he had like messed up because he took me off of his list. And so I got that whenever I left. Like as soon as Jeramey broke up with me, I got in the car. They're like, okay, we want to let you know that like this is, Vince is saying this. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, but at that point, I was already obsessed with Jeramey,
Right. Like, it's just too much. I can't add anything else.
I don't know what's going on. So, but yeah, I don't know. Like looking back, it's just, I really would have done things very differently for sure. But, and especially given the night at the bar, but there was a conversation that needed to be had.
Yeah.
Wrong place, wrong time of morning. Let's go with that. But I mean, and again, they had that footage not that footage, but they had that information to be able to take it and run with it and just make it this like,
right. It was very
dirty,
juicy.
story. And I'm like, when in reality, like the brain will take people to those places often, and sometimes, and most of the time, it's not even the reality, and it wasn't. It was not. So, because we did stay up and talk, but there was no kissing, nothing happened.
Just like you said, a lot to unpack.
A lot.
So then they get you guys to the lake house.
Yeah.
Which, were you nervous to go? Because I feel like I would have been so nervous.
I was like, I'm about to be chewed up and spit out. But there were a few of the women that I felt like, would have still been kind to me because of our connection. And that just wasn't the case. I was kind of disappointed in that. I was like, okay. Like,
I mean, it did feel kind of brutal. I rewatched that back and I was like, oh.
I'm like,
wow.
I am just a strong girl. Like,
I'm not a confrontational person. I would have been like sitting in a lawn chair crying and been like, there was a lot of people very upset.
Yeah.
Then you still had to deal with him, which you hadn't seen him since that night.
Yeah,
right?
because we weren't seeing each other,
right.
So
there's a lot of awkwardness, a lot of tension. So, and you like chose to walk into that. Like that had to be hard.
I thought to myself, I have to go to this because I know the truth. Like I know
you wanted to clear the whole story up, pretty much.
And sort of in a way, but hiding from things whenever, even in moments of weakness, hiding is not the best way to go through life. You even if you make a mistake or if you go about something the wrong way, running from it, it will follow you and it will get worse.
So you wanted to address it basically with everybody, like pull the Band-Aid off. Here's what happened.
I'm not hiding because there's nothing to hide. That was my mindset. I'm like, well, why wouldn't I go? Like, I was a part of this. I shared this experience with everyone else. I had real emotions. Like, and I really, like, what you guys are coming up with in your mind is just not real. So yeah. So I was like, I have to go.
And how was that?
Woof. It was interesting because I expected a few to be pretty standoffish. There were a few that, as Chelsea did say hey, I think, but it was a very like brief, and she was kind of worried about her own situation, so I get that too. But when I walked in, I knew, I could feel it in my soul. I was like, ooh, they've got something drummed up. Like, I'm going to be in some conversations today. And that's what they do. They're like, oh, this person wants to have a conversation. You've seen it on TV.
Yeah.
But if I had it to redo, because I'm working on like my own growth and not being as reactive and allowing people to invoke emotion in me, right? And stay more grounded. Some of those conversations I wouldn't even have allowed to happen because it didn't involve them. I would have been like, respectfully, this has nothing to do with
like
you.
I'm going to address it with the person that I need to talk to about.
Yeah. And because everybody there didn't want to talk to me, the women, I would have, probably waltzed up to Jeramey in a different way and been like, you're either going to like leave with me, address this now, something, but like looking back on that, he also did not treat me well in that situation. Sure, we were communicating to a degree and having a conversation, but it wasn't like a man that I want to be with forever.
Like,
he didn't walk over and grab me and say, we are not doing this, and I expect that from...
Right. Like, you're like, this is, and I think that's what the show has taught you. It's like, this is how I deserve and want to be treated.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I saw that too. I was like, okay, like, I know you guys went jet skiing and stuff like that, and I know that they weren't talking at that point, but still, I didn't feel like he had the conversation with other people of like, I felt like a lot of it was just blaming you, where I didn't feel like people were taking into account, okay, he's a part of this too a little. Yeah. Like, I kind of felt like that part was missing. Like, I wanted him to address it to everybody of like, hey, I went up to her. This is what happened. I did lie, like, to Laura. Like, I was there and, like, kind of own it a little bit more, I think. And I think he did more at the reunion, but I felt like a little bit. But I felt like at the lake house day, it just was like, I felt tense rewatching it. I was like, woof.
I don't think he knew what he wanted. I don't think he knew what he really wanted. And I now that I know more about him, and I'm not going to speak poorly of him, but I'm not even quite sure that, I just don't think that he was 100% certain either way. Which, okay, fair, because you are only dating people for 3 weeks. And at the end of the day, it's not me or her, and I don't want it to be. But, I think that he was also doing the self-protection thing of like, I don't want to get too close to her because it's going to make me look really, really bad. Okay, fair. But if it really, looking back, I would have never gotten into the relationship because that is not how I expect to be treated. And, and honestly, like, I didn't like how he treated Laura either. Like, I mean, I think people forget that
he lied about his location.
Yeah. Which obviously that's on him. And I mean, sure, I was a part of it, but you're right. I do feel like, especially at the reunion, it was like my giant face on the camera screaming the whole time. And I'm like, he's just sitting there kind of like sad and whatever. And I'm like, I've had so many people come up to me and be like, you should have just let him take the lead. And I was like, I think even if I had like shut my mouth, I don't think he would have said anything.
No, I feel like he very much was like, okay, kind of the heat's on you and you're going to take it. And that was like one thing that I kept noticing. I'm like, well, there are two people involved in this.
Do you think, like, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think that when conflict arises in reality television and it is like male, female, like, do you think that women get more heat over everything, over like men?
Yes, I definitely do. So it's actually funny you talked about that because I had like a little reunion here for like our little Racing Wives thing. And we discussed on there how we felt like sometimes like very picked on the internet or unsupported. And we were like, we just wanted to show kind of our crazy lives. Like our husbands do this like cool job. We're very blessed to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But there is like a lot of, the travel, the kids, the this, the that. And we felt like people were just so quick to be like, oh, she's she's an airhead. She's this, she's that. And we're like, now if our husbands, 5 of them did a reality show together, would people have totally reacted different like that? And I do feel like that's something really interesting. And that was one of my questions I did want to ask. So you experienced the reunion and all that.
Yeah.
I thought the reunion was hard enough. What was it like online? Like, did you allow yourself to look at the comments or did you just block it all out? Or
I love that you asked this question because, I mean, if you've never, and you know this so well, if you've never been in that realm of television, then you have no idea the immense amount of hate that can come from the world. It is a very dark, ugly place. And people can say that and vocalize that, but like until you have it coming at you in like the masses, it's really hard to even understand it. And so once it aired, I mean, I remember just my Instagram just blew up and like people were reaching out with all kinds of things. I couldn't even keep up. So there was a point where I was like, I can't even look at these, because it's like, I don't even know who's saying what. I don't know if I know this person. A couple weeks in, I remember being like, I'm just going to see what people are saying. And it was like either I had a lot of support or people were like, I'm going to come kill you in your sleep. Like literally.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I had a few death threats. Like I was like, and people like doxing us on the internet and like putting where we lived. It was like really wild.
Oh my gosh.
And that was like part of the scary part of it. But then there was the like, oh, you're ugly. Or, like in like I work out, people were like saying that they're like, oh, you're like a linebacker. I'm like, why? Because I have broad shoulders. But like I started to internalize some of that. And I'm
it's
like,
hard. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I look at that. I mean, people are always like, you have a big nose. I'm like, I know.
yeah. And like,
I know.
What? Like, but I think for a while I let that affect me. And then I started doing some therapy and realizing that like, people really say hurtful things when they're hurting, and that sounds so cliche, but it's true. I think there's a lot of people that sit on the internet and they spew hatred because that's their like way of getting things off of their chest, and like because in public I've never had anybody be rude.
I was just
ever.
gonna ask that.
Never. No. I've had people say to me like, oh, I just didn't agree, like, but you seem really nice, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of a backhanded way to be like kind, but there's no way they're coming up to me in public and saying that stuff. I mean,
and well, nowadays you don't even know what's real and what's AI and bots. Like that's why I'm like, I can't even keep up with this.
I'm gonna tell everybody that experience was AI.
Yeah, like, that was not me.
This wasn't me. I don't know who that is. No. But yeah, it was. Yeah.
So what does life look like now? So you got out of kind of that. Just, you said you did therapy.
Yep.
It was hard, I'm sure. And then obviously, like everything else in the world, there's something big to talk about and then something else to talk about. And so where did life after the show? Like I know you and Jeramey dated for like a year or so, you said.
Yeah.
But like what happened after? And then like how did you become who you are today? And like what is the new version of Sarah Ann?
Yeah. No, thanks for asking. After that experience, which I wouldn't change for the world because it really did shape my life. And I don't know why God chose to make it that way in such a big way. Like, I don't know why he had to do that for me to learn the lessons that I did, but I'm so thankful for it. Life right after the show, I was hanging out with a lot of people from the cast and just kind of unpacking that. And in therapy, I was talking, like I just mentioned, about the things that people were saying. And then I started to question myself and my character. And I'm like, did I overstep? Which essentially, yes. Okay. And I know that we have to judge people based off their intent or their actions, not their intentions. So when I started to realize that, I was like, okay, I need to move a little bit differently. And it's going to take time. I think looking back on the reunion, the reaction that I was having, that's something that I was like, I don't like that. That was not my finest moment. There was a lot of emotion that day. And a lot
I feel like you
on.
had a lot that you wanted to say. And probably at that point, because it had been, a year after the show?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You had dealt with all the online stuff, all the people, all the drama. So I felt like, and they don't give you a lot of time, but I could tell in that thing, you're like, I just want to like explain that I wasn't trying to be bad. I was hurting.
Yeah.
But then, it just kind of.
Yeah, and it really was so targeted at us or me, if you will, on the reunion. So like, but looking back at that, I don't like that part of myself. I don't like being reactive and confrontational. Again, a very unique situation, but that's something that I'm working towards as an individual in all parts of my life. The growth that I've had is substantial. I think, there's plenty of people in the world that make me mad or do something that I don't agree with, but sometimes saying nothing is better. Yeah. And I've learned that, and that's maybe time and age and maybe partially going on television and seeing myself and it being played back to me. But
I think that's so beautiful though, that you could see something and be like, I didn't like that about myself.
Yeah.
And like, yes, a lot of good came from a show, a lot of drama came from the show, but like you've used it for personal growth, which is
absolutely
incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
I did wonder always, because a lot of other people from the show went on different shows. Did you ever consider going on anything else?
They had reached out the summer right after it aired and asked me if I would consider another dating show. One that you guys know very well, the initials PM. So, and I remember I told them, I said, listen, I understand that you guys are having to make television and I get that. I was like, but if there's any indication that you guys are going to bus roll me again, the answer is no. I am not that fame hungry to go and to have, my reputation skewed, everything that you can get all over the internet. Like, I don't want that. Like, I want my relationship with Jesus and that's it. That's why we're put here on earth. And I think now, in the growth, I'm like, I don't even care what people have to say about me because it's like I'm done explaining to people. I'm done justifying.
Like,
I don't have to.
Yes, like I don't owe anybody anything. I love that, like, you're so deep in faith. Like, that's how we are here too. I'm pointing because Lucas and Darby, like, we all kind of teach each other and grow, and you do learn. You're like, okay, yes, this person said this to me, but I don't have to react. Like, I don't even have to respond, or like, I don't really have to care anymore that somebody says you're ugly or you're this or you're that. I'm like, my family loves me, my friends love me, and Jesus loves me. So I'm good.
Absolutely.
I'm golden.
Yep, I'm golden.
I'm good. Thank you.
Everybody makes mistakes, it's part of life. That's part of the worldly, that's worldly. We all live in sin and we make mistakes, and so it's just about grounding yourself. And I don't think I was a very grounded person when I went on Love is Blind. I think I was a little bit like living on the edge, and which is okay too. It built me.
Right, and everybody learns and grows.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Well, I've been trying to date. Dating in any city is just really difficult. And I've met some really great guys. I was just seeing someone for like a good 6 weeks, but it was exactly what I was telling you about, that, I kind of could picture my life with him, and he was wonderful. And, he's telling me like, oh, I do these devotionals. And I'm like, okay, like, you do your devotionals, but are you in scripture? And like, we had talked about like going to church and doing all that. And I loved that part of him. But he, I think, just is not a person that can handle conflict well. And the more intimate that we started to get in our conversations, I think it just kind of made him naturally retreat. I think that's kind of the problem that I'm running into nowadays with everybody I meet. I don't know what is going on.
Which goes back then to part of Love is Blind really works. Like, you take away.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it is a forced intimacy that you cannot necessarily create in the real world.
I agree. I don't want to say that the show works as far as like that, like, okay, Love is Blind. I mean, sorta. But I think it's more, if anything I could say to them, it would be that it works because you pushed me, so hard in a direction, or hurt me so bad to where like it shaped me. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like, it really, really did grow me as a person.
I was gonna say, I think it's a definite positive. Like, maybe not every aspect of the show, but it's made you who you are today.
Absolutely.
And I don't think if your journey was different, I don't think you would have had that growth. And now you know exactly what you want out of a husband, which I think is important. And as you said in the beginning, there are some people that settle or think, okay, he'll change his mind or whatever. Yeah. And 10 years down the road, that didn't happen.
Yep.
And so I feel like your hard part now is like, you know exactly who you are and what you deserve. Yeah. And I bet you that could be intimidating to some guys.
Yeah. And I'm all about like, women and being in their careers and like, doing for themselves. And I like to think that I'm that person, right? Like, I feel pretty successful. And it maybe does determine, but I'm like, if I'm sitting here right now telling you, like, that doesn't change the fact that I think that men have to lead. Like, I don't know what it's going to take for me to find that person. And I keep praying about it, but I'm like, if that freaks you out, like, then you're not my person. Right. And I think it's just genuinely because, like, listen, I'm sick and tired. I don't want to have to do all the stuff that I do to keep up with my life and my lifestyle, but I do because it's necessary and I have to. So it's like, but that does come across, I think, to certain men like, oh, well, she's already got it on her own. Like, what am I here for? But it's like, well, I think at the end of the day, like, everybody wants to be with somebody. Everybody wants companionship and partnership. So
you want your best friend, your partner.
Yeah. And it's just not supposed to be a competition. And I feel like, why are we making this a competition?
No, 1,000%. Like, that is one thing. My husband and I are getting ready to celebrate 15 years of marriage.
God,
I know, crazy. We actually, it was funny the other night, we're sitting here and we're like, it's 13, it's 14. And we're like, oh, it's 15.
You're like, I forgot. It's been so long.
That's a big one. And we'll be with my son racing at a racetrack. Surprise, surprise.
That's awesome.
I think one thing that's always been really unique about him is that I've always wanted to be myself too, even though I'm married to him. And I love to go to his races and support him. But I always wanted to have my own identity and my own thing just because that's my personality. And he always supported that. He was always like, yeah, you do you. Like, sure, you want to do a podcast? Let me decal all these walls for you. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that that's like a true partnership. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
absolutely.
And I think it's beautiful. And so, yay.
I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly right. Like, it's like, okay, I want to have a husband that supports me in all of my endeavors. Like, that is amazing. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I have my life and my career and you have your life together, but like, you want to have your own identity.
Yes.
And that's okay too.
Yeah. And I love that he's not, there are some days that he's like, oh my gosh, like you're having a fifth person over here for a podcast.
Another
or
podcast. Yeah.
Whatever. But he's like, no, that's cool. Like, this is good. Or like, oh, have you thought about this guest? Or like, he watched your reunion. And,
oh my gosh. He was like, hit her up.
Well, we were doing our study for the pod and I was like, watch this with me. And he's like, okay. And so, like, I think that's awesome. But
Yeah.
I also want to say thank you for coming on here and being so honest. Like, this was amazing. And
thanks for having me. I was excited when you reached out. I was like, okay.
Thanks so much for listening today to this episode with Sarah Ann. Make sure to follow along on our socials and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, come back every Tuesday for a brand new one right here on Certified Oversharer.